Hello everyone, it is Joe here from Omnipoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon, and today we're looking at a very interesting list that came out of the Malmo Regional Championships that me and Jack have just come back from. We didn't do too well, but this deck did, and it's pretty interesting. You can actually see the full list played by Karl Peters, the top four, in the section below. Just check the description on Complexity Card Gaming. They've taken a photo of the list and you can see it there. This is a completely different list. Well, not completely different. The essence is the same, but I've made my own changes. I don't think my list is necessarily better. It just sort of plays slightly differently. The mentality of the deck is to just use Lapras, and it has high HP, nice healing with Rough Seas, and you can see we have Hammers in here and Puzzle of Time. So my mentality with this deck is that it's Werelord with a draw engine, because we'll look at Lapras's attacks in a moment, and they are very annoying and strong as well. And this deck is, as you can see on the right of your screen, a fatigue deck. It's trying to make it difficult for your opponent to take 6 prizes in the first place. We're taking energy off the board. We do attack sometimes with Lapras, also wiping energy off the board and attackers off the board. And it's just really hard for decks to take 6 prizes against us. It's a pretty interesting, innovative list. And I'll talk about my changes to Karl's list, because I actually played this in the League Cup on the second day. I went 0-2 drop, but I learned a lot about the deck. And I feel like this list is far superior to the one that I played. And I think going forward, this is a good baseline for you guys to check out, because it is a really interesting deck with not many bad matchups, really. So, it is Quad Lapras, and as the name suggests, we are playing 4 of this card. It's 190 HP basic Pokemon, which is already very strong, and it has 3 attacks, all of which serve great purposes in here. The main attack you actually use is Collect. For 1 water, you just draw 3. It's so simple. If anyone's played Werelord before, you know that you just simply announce pass at the end of your turn. Well, this is passing, but you're also accessing your resources. It's really, really good. It means that we can get into our Disruption supporters without having to need to play things like Sycamore if we've already dealt with the board at the present time. It means that we can play these Disruption supporters and know that we can carry on finding VS Seekers for the following turns and more answers. It means we can wait with single puzzle in hand and start digging harder, which is really cool to try and find double puzzle combo. You're basically Werelord, but you just draw cards at the end of your turn, so it's so much stronger. You just have more options throughout your entire game, and basically what you're trying to do is be versatile and answer your opponent's board in whatever way possible. If it's Team Flare Grunt, great. If it's Lysandre Stall, whatever else, just finding more hammers, etc. Collect is just really good to do while you set up your board and find resources and try and just build a better board than the opponent, because you're trying to crush away their energies for the most part. It's also really good that under item lock, which is obviously a huge factor right now because of Decidueye Vileplume, we can still access our supporters, and we can still keep drawing into things like Team Flare and Team Skull Grunt, which are the key players against the Decidueye matchup. It also means that we can draw into Wobbuffet, which is obviously also a key player against Decidueye in particular. Its other 2 attacks are Blizzard Burn for 3 waters, which does 160, and this Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. This is one of the weaknesses of Lapras. We can't just keep chugging away. I would much prefer if Blizzard Burn was just 120 on its own and it didn't have a bad drawback. But unfortunately, no. It can do 170, which is an actual pretty good number. You can finish off games rather quickly when you start snowballing and gaining control of the board. You can KO things like Hooper, which is good. It's a good number, but it has a drawback, just like Volcanion EX's attack, that you can't attack next turn. We do have Ranger and Olympia in here for this reason. Olympia as well being some nice healing and stall aspects to it as well. But Ranger is simply in here so that we can use Blizzard Burn a couple of times in a row, which is pretty good. So yeah, Blizzard Burn's an awkward attack to use, but it can just deal with things. And it's really important to deal with a few Pokemon, especially currently in the format. Non-EXE Veltol is really important to deal with as quickly as possible, because we're trying to deny energy, and especially against things like Turbo Darkrai, they start ramping up pretty damn quick. And so far in my testing, Turbo Darkrai has been one of the harder matchups for me. So it's important to deal with non-EXE Veltols as quickly as possible so that they can't just recover the energy and your hammers actually start taking effect. So that's important. Also, things like non-EX Volcanion, similarly. Just because we're a water deck doesn't mean that we have a good Volcanion matchup. In fact, it's quite the opposite. it's a pretty difficult matchup for us. Oftentimes you win via fatigue rather than taking the 6 prizes, but oftentimes you take 2 prizes in that route to try and fatigue them just because you're dealing with a Volcanion, then they have to go back to Baby Volk and start recycling. But overall, it's a rough matchup for us, and it's important to deal with these accelerators that Warlord couldn't, so this is pretty cool. Also, we have Ice Beam GX, and this is another key player in the deck. For 2 water and a colourless, we deal 100, and the opponent's active is now paralysed. Paralysis is still pretty good in the format. A lot of people are playing PCL and Olympia, especially Olympia, because of Decidueye Varplume in particular. And these are the main ways people get around the Ice Beam, but similarly, they still have to have the answers in hand. And when we have a lot of hand disruption and people have to cycle a lot of the time they need to draw cards in the first place because they have no energy on the board a lot of the time when we're using Ice Beam, we force awkward combos where they need to find multiple things all at once to even get an attack in. It's really important against a few mega decks so that we can go 100 into 160 whilst hopefully not receiving any damage in the process. So it is a good attack. It's awkward and you have to time it well. Oftentimes firing off an N mid to late game is when you're going to do this and set up a 2-hit KO on something. One of their main attackers to wipe some energy off the board and hopefully finish them off in terms of what they have left to sort of deal with your Lapras. So yeah, 4 of these because this is all we need. One non-EX is going to be Wobbuffet. It serves so many good purposes in here. Wobbuffet is a non-EX, which is already hugely important. When I saw Karl's list, I saw just for Lapras. And it's great that it's just for Lapras, but I really searched hard for a non-EX. I think Wobbuffet's the best option we have. It's pretty much the best starter in the deck because, well, it kind of is and it kind of isn't. It depends on the matchup. If it's something like Rayquaza or Decidueye, you're laughing if this is in your active position. Even just most Mega decks, this is a great lead for you because you stop abilities. At any point in the game, this is a fantastic card to find against Decidueye Plume because it allows you access to your Crushing and Enhanced Hammers, and they can stop doing their Feather Arrows, so then Ruffs's heals all your Laprases that have been put into play. So I like the one-off just because it makes Decidueye a very strong matchup for you, which is important. But also it does a lot of other things, just as being a non-EX. It forces a 7 prize game, and it's hard enough for people to take like 4 prizes against Lapras because they're so tanky, and we have so much disruption in here, especially energy denial. So having a non-EX that they have to also like spend VS Seekers to Lysandre around, that's like a VS Seeker gone that could be ending our hand away, or it could be an Olympia later down the line when we're trying to Lysandre. It's just forcing more resources from people, and at the same time it's a great answer to Decidueye Plume. I found Decidueye Plume has been fine, but it is sort of dependent on how quickly you either start Wobbuffet, which is obviously great for you, but how quickly you can collect into Wob, put him down, retreat into him, and from there start hammering away as quickly as possible, because until you find those hammers and flare grunts and skull grunts, because we have grass weakness, we have a lot of trouble. One of the hardest matchups, I think it's unwinnable, is Lurantis. Fortunately, we're not seeing a huge amount of it just now, but Lurantis is like the auto loss for Lapras. I don't think it has any other straight auto loss just because of the amount of disruption we have, but Lurantis is going to be the hardest matchup for sure. Let's look at some of these items now. Just because we're playing 5 Pokemon means we just have so much space for stuff. One of the most interesting things is we're playing 0 Ultra Ball and just 2 Nest Ball as our entire search engine. It just allows us to put a basic from the deck straight to the bench. It works just like a dive ball in terms of the 4 Lapras, but it also gets Wob, so that's why we've made the change. And yeah, we only need a couple because if we start Lapras, it's really, really tanky, and we have turns to collect into our cards, and this is an unimpactful card in terms of if we played more ball search cards, we'd be playing less disruptive cards, so we'd rather just keep 2, collect our way into Laprases. It's rarely been a problem that we get donked, but sometimes it has happened. Against like Mega Ray, if you have to just like sycamore your hand away and hope you can find another Lapras, because we have so many reactive cards in here. If we go first, we just sort of have to pass and wait for the opponent to play their entire turn out. So potentially a 3rd ball search card in here, but I don't particularly think it's a huge issue. That's one of the reasons why Wobbuffet is also a decent non-EX choice, just because it has a decent amount of HP in the first place. You can slap a Fury Belt on and he's pretty much going to stand a couple turns while you hammer away stuff. So yeah, just 2 ball search cards, which is really rare for a deck, but there we go, it works in here. 2 switch cards, as well as Floatstone. Switch itself is important so that we can chain Blizzard Burn. We can Blizzard Burn and free retreat with Floatstone, hopefully, or you can switch Olympia so that you can get Blizzard Burn going, or simply switch into a second Lapras and Blizzard Burn with the next one. At the same time, when you're tanking hits and healing with Rough Seas, going to the bench, going into a new Lapras is also really awkward for people, so 2 switch are really good. Don't need more than, I think Karl played 3, but we have Puzzle, so we can recycle it if it's super important, but it's rarely the card that I will recycle. It's just good to have the option in the deck. 1 E-Hammer as well as 4 Crushings, just it's our energy removal. This is how the deck plays. I keep going back to the analogy of Werelord that can draw cards, and that's how I like to play the deck, basically, and being able to spam these is important. There's still a few special energy reliant decks. Mewtwo is a hard deck to beat because they have 4 Mega Turbos, but this is good for instantly answering DC at the very least. It's also good for obviously Mega Ray and Decidueye as soon as you go into Wob, so it's an important card. Just 3 Max Elixir. Typically you see 4 counts in decks, but this is just sort of supplementary. It's important to have against Volcanion, and it's important against Turbo Darkrai, because we need to answer their non-EXs quickly and have backup attackers ready to go. So Max Elixir is important for this, so that we can start getting into our second and third attacks as quick as possible to manage and regulate those sorts of cards before their energy just gets out of control and it makes Crushing Hammer like a useless card because they've already built too much. So Max Elixir means that we can get more aggressive with our Lapras if need be, but just the 3 count because normally you're chilling and collecting for a few turns. That's just how the deck functions. 4 Puzzle of Time. A lot of the time it's going to be for more Crushings. Every now and then it's going to be to win the Stadium War or to find like more VS Seekers or Switch cards or whatever else. But yeah, just versatile. Sometimes we sit on 15 card hands. There's going to be 2 puzzles in there. And we just sit with the options. Whatever they do, we just go, cool. Let's find the answers from the discard pile. Really nice for the resource war that we try and do in almost every game situation. For VS Seeker, we have so many different supporters in here. You can see this is like one of the strongest cards in the deck by far. 4 Rough Seas just fits the whole theme of the hit and heal. Hide sometimes, heal multiple Lapras, get a lot of value from this card. We will win the Stadium War with puzzles. We just win the war, heal up. It's all gravy from there. Here are some of our supporters. Professor Kukui is a really important one. It fits the theme of Lapras when you don't want to really shuffle draw because you're collecting so much. So having an additional 2 draw on top is okay. Like, it's worse than like a TNO or a HOW or something, so it's not amazing to draw only 2 cards, but it's a supporter that you can play if you've already got the board. But more importantly, it's the 20 damage that you get from him. It's important against things like Turbo Darkrai, where our cap is 160. Well, it's 170 with a Fury Belt, but may as well be 160. Kukui pushes us so that we can 1-hit KO non-belted Darkrai's, so that's pretty important. And he gets around other things as well. Oftentimes you want to deal with the EXP shared Darkrai, so Kukui is good for that. We are playing 1 Ranger, as I said earlier, mainly so that we can spam Blizzard Burn, but it also serves the purpose of dealing with Jolteon at the same time, which is cool. We have Olympia. Again, it's nice for reusing Blizzard Burn. It's also pretty important for getting out of status. Espeon has been popping up a little bit more here and there. It did well in Malmo, and Confusion is really annoying for Lapras because you can't just sit and collect like you want to because you're confused. So Olympia is kind of important for that. 2 Ovs. We are playing 2 Lysandre. I think 2 is fine. We do use it a lot, but because we have access with Collect so quickly, you'll draw into your 2 counts quite quickly anyway. So just 2 is fine. We have the respam potential. It's for stall purposes. It's to deal with the big threats when we need to. We can Ice Beam the important targets, whatever else. It's just serves so many roles in here. Really good card. 2 Team Skull Grunt. This is upping the count from Karl's list, where it played just 1, I think. I think 2 is important. It's the only proactive supporter you want to play on turn 1, which is pretty funny. You just go for the turn 1 blind Skull Grunt and hope. because it can change games. It really can change games. Energy disruption from the hand. When they know you play Crushings, Enhanced, and Flare Grunt, a lot of the time people hold it until it's relevant, and then you just go, cool, Skull Grunt, and hope. You have a lot of free turns when you're just collecting anyway, and you've already managed their board, and it can only be enhanced by throwing in Skull Grunt into the mix. It's also really important for Decidueye when they go for their Hollow Hunt GX turn. Oftentimes, against this deck specifically, they'll go for Grass DCE DCE, and you just go Skull Grunt because it's pretty important to get rid of the energy. Otherwise, they can just attack and one-hit KO anything in their path. So Skull Grunt is really important. I like the 2 count. I think it's been working fine for me. And additionally, we've upped the Flare Grunt count to 3. I think Karl just played the 2 of. I also think this is something you want to be spamming almost every turn if you're able, and it forces your opponent to play around the deck completely differently. They have to power stuff up on the bench the entire time, and you can just leave the active stalled for a few turns and just collect up. It's all good news for you. Then we are playing 3 Professor Sycamore. I like 3, it's still a really good early option for you, and the hands can get dead sometimes, believe it or not, even with collecting. So Sycamore's important. It's a good turn 1 supporter as well when we have nothing else to play. And it means we can get some of these tech supporters into the discard pile early. And 4N, Karl played Judge, and Judge was an interesting card. It's good for the disruptive factor in the early turns, but I don't think it's that strong. I would rather just have a high hand size to have answers to everything. So N is going to be nice for resetting, obviously late game, limiting the opponent's options, etc. When they have started to take prizes on Laprases, but I still just like the shuffle draw aspect. It's a better supporter turn 1 than Judge will ever be. I know the mentality is if you have an energy on Lapras, Judge still draws you a 7 by the end of your turn, but there are times when you need to refresh your hand and you actually need a response that turn. Like you actually need to dig to find Elixir or Crushing or a switch card or something like that, and Judge is really weak for that. So I think N is overall more safe, and that's why we've gone for that. 3 Fury Belt just to make us tanky, as I said, and it improves our numbers. Ice Beam can KO Shaman, and it means that we can still attack the following turn to KO another EX Pokemon, so you can accelerate your game quite quickly. They may think they're safe, and you're just going to collect for a few more turns, but you can turn the aggression on quite quickly with this deck if you want to. Ice Beam is good for that. It also means that Bitter Burn, as I said earlier, gets to 170, which is good on a lot of Pokemon as well. The 1 Floatstone, we changed it from Switch just so that you can try and get it on Wob, which is really nice. And just even on a Lapras, it's fine a lot of the time as well. It's just a more permanent switch state, which is cool for you. And we've gone for 10 energy, combos well with Elixir, and you want to have it even under item lock, so you can start collecting quickly against Decidueye, so you have a shot of winning the game. So let's have a look at a few Pokemon options. You don't want to play many Pokemon. I think the biggest debate is the 1 non-EX that you play. When I first built the list after hearing about it, I threw a Bunnelby in because it's thrown into a lot of resourcey war-style decks like mill decks. The main reason I don't like Bunnelby in here is only 60 HP. We only played 5 Pokemon total and 2 Ball Search cards. And if you start Bunnelby and don't have like a draw supporter in hand, you will lose the game in 1 turn, and that's quite sad. So I'm not a fan of Bunnelby. On a similar vein, Jirachi, it does serve a great purpose in Stardust, is a fantastic energy removal, but again, just the fact that you will start with it a lot with only 5 Pokemon, it's awkward. Funnily enough, you can play the non-EX Lapras in this deck, because Errand Running is also a really good attack. Search your deck for a trainer, reveal and put into the hand. It fits the role of the deck really well, and it's just another tanky Lapras that can also heal. I thought that was quite amusing. It can just get you into like second puzzle, or get you into Crushing. It can get you into your Ball Search card if it's your only Pokemon in play. So this is actually really not a bad call to put this card in your deck as your non-EX. I think Wobbuffet serves like too perfect of a role to not play, but the non-EX Lapras is something that you could want to try out. Yeah, it's something you might want to try. For supporters, Skylar, just like I was saying with the Lapras, actually, you can just search for your combo pieces, the second puzzle, or any other important trainer card, like your switches and stuff like that. It's cool. As we saw with Karl's list, he played Judge. Judge is nice for some shuffle draw. Early game disruptive, definitely. especially if you play Wobbuffet, it can be really nice, but it's not often that you get a Wob in the active and have the time to play Judge as well. But that could be cool. Pokemon Center Lady is another card. It's one that I've not played a lot, but I'm kind of wanting a space. I think if I'm playing 60, I think right now this is my 61st card. Gives you great heal and also gets you out of status. Especially if Espeon keeps getting more popular, I want a second card to get around status because it's really, really annoying to be confused as a Lapras because you just want to collect every turn and they don't let you, basically. So yeah, I think the last card I want to talk about is Energy Switch. Again, it's a card that Karl played, but it's one that we're currently not playing. I've opted to just have more disruptive cards. I don't think he played Puzzle. That was the biggest change between mine and his lists. He only played 2 Elixir as well, and I think Elixir, for the most part, serves the role of whatever E-Switch was trying to do in terms of be aggressive with your Laprases. This way, I think we actually enhance our board even more by playing more Elixirs, so I personally would go for the 4th Elixir before I start putting in E-Switches, but I can see his mentality where he can just go really aggressive on random turns when out of nowhere you just spring a 160 or 170 damage attack on people when they're expecting you to just collect. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. The deck is really cool, and I think it genuinely is a contender. It's not just like one random rogue popped up and did well. I think it's actually an archetype worth pursuing. I've had a few test games with it. For the most part, it's gone quite well, and yeah, it's one that's really on my radar now because I think it doesn't have many bad matchups at all. So we'll hop into the ladder and we'll see how we do with this deck. Yeah, should be fun. Let's see who goes first. We actually don't mind going second at all. This deck is much better going second because you can collect on that turn and you have all the reactive cards that you can actually play. So obviously with 5 Pokemon, this deck does mulligan a lot, and that's another reason why the judges were played by Karl and why we're playing a 4 end count over 4 Sycamore. So that we can stop them with their high hand size, but also at the same time, Team Skull Grunt can also regulate that as well. So it's not too bad going second ever with this deck. Lots of mulligans, here we go. Our opponent seeing our entire list. The only thing I don't like about mulling, I don't mind them having extra cards. The main thing I dislike is that people can play around the deck a lot more when they see the secrets that we have. And we have 2 Pokemon. This hand is pretty good. I think I'll still lead Wob. Collect is so tempting though. Okay, we'll just start Wob. Strong hand. The opponent's going to draw his million mulligans. And looks like we're up against you Veltal or Turbo Dark. One of the two. And we're going to see Hooper straight away. That obviously does work because it's a psychic type. If it's Dark Dragons, we have a much better time because it's much easier to get rid of their special energy. And a lot of the time they only play 1 non-EXE Veltal. But the priority here is going to be KOing this as quickly as possible. Looks like it is the Dragon build. Much better than Straight Dark. Straight Dark's one of the more difficult matchups for us. But it's still a priority to KO this quickly. So it's kind of good that we led Wob and kept Lapras on the bench. My main mentality was because we had the Elixir in hand. That's why I chose not to lead Lapras. And it seems to have worked okay. The opponent obviously is going to be having a nuts turn here because they had all the mulligan draws. 1 Elixir hits. Fury Belt goes on the Darkrai as well. Which means we have to Ice Beam it at some point in this game, basically. There's that turn attachment. And Escape Rope actually brings us active. Which allows them now to use Shaman. Apologies for the coughing, guys. I think I've got a cold from my travels. See a floatstone from the trainer's mail. One thing about Lapras is, although it's a really low budget deck, it's a deck with a lot of decision trees, so it's hard to play. So I wouldn't actually recommend this for a beginner, despite it being low budget. But we'll see. We'll see. And so it begins. Seen one rope gone. Darkrai typically plays exclusively ropes. Which is kind of annoying for us. They're just going to reattach to Darkrai, that's fine. More Flowstones coming down. Just a 70 damage. Let's repeat our last turn. Exact repeat of last turn. Cool. See a Sycamore, getting rid of VS Seeker and Double Dragon. Interesting. What more do they want this turn, really? Don't think they ever ramp up enough with elixirs. They'd have to be really lucky too. Yeah, just Dark Pulse. Ooh, Rough Seas is a good pickup. Does that push us out of range in any way? Puts us back. I think this is going to be an Ice Beam turn. So we'll fire off the end now. Thinking it may still be worth crushing here. Even though it's our Ice Beam turn. Because it means they need to have energy plus switch card, not just switch card. No, we'll just leave it. We'll just leave it. We'll see. Whoops. I've re-downloaded it on my new computer, so we might have some new alerts popping up. There's Double Dragon for their turn attachment. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. 10 off if they can attack this turn. There's the stadium being replaced. Getting rid of the Hooper with the float and the Shaman. And Lysandre for Wob. And the pass. 3 for 3 on our hammers, which is cool. Oh, the game's so different if we get one of those. Okay. Cool. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. So they need to have Lysandre, Energy, Elixir in hand to actually deal with us here. There's that third Floatstone, so I don't think they play many ropes. They're going to VS Seeker here for Sycamore. Okay. Don't mind this at all, really. Their attachment still has to be active. I don't think that Lysandre really achieved much. Here's an Elixir. Fails. For it to fail, they probably have a few energy in hand. Thinking about Skull Grunt now. Okay, one hits. Just the pass. Gross. Okay. We can replace the stadium, get a heal in, get ourselves nice and out of range. They pass, so they don't have energy in hand. So we'll just fire off the Grunt again. Hoping if they do play a switch card, it's a rope. Because then they only ever get one Oblivion Wing. Olympia's here. Okay. Now we're on a clock to deal with this guy. Need to find a switch card quickly. Hopefully no replacement of Stadium. That would be good. There's a second Yveltal. There's a Fury Belt onto the Yveltal. It makes no difference with our Fury Belt in play. And there's Oblivion Wing. So we'll get a rough season. And we're just going to Sycamore this hand. Need to find switch. We do find switch. Very good. So I haven't found another Lapras or a ball card, which is interesting. I might be playing this single puzzle here. Because likely our supporter is Sycamore next turn. I'd love to manipulate a Lapras to the top here. Oh, really bad. Okay. This hammer is going to be to the bench Yveltal. Hey, look what we did, guys. We flipped heads. Did you know that we could do that? I might even Elixir just to refresh these top decks. Let's take some prizes. Well, a prize. So, we've dealt with one. We can't Ranger next turn, so they could potentially get another turn of Oblivion Wing in, but it's also really slow for them. We can just Rough Season collect. Kind of. It's not the worst turn for us if that's the case. That's assuming they have another Dark in hand. Here's VS Seeker. They need to draw more cards here. I think they need to draw cards. They don't have any N in the discard pile, which is really good for us. Yeah, they need to start drawing. They're going to get an Ultra Ball in first. Just to thin. Well, they didn't thin anything, but they had the option to. Let's see, 3. Ooh. Going for Giratina, of all things. They've got the Super Rod. They're just going to go 3 darks, or are they going to bring back the non-EX Yveltal? I think they should bring back non-EX Yveltal. So I do have to get... Okay. I do have to go through each single one, I feel. They're going to go for an Elixir now with much better odds. Wow, they go for the Darkrai. I thought it was definitely going to be an Oblivion Wing turn. They could have mailed before the Rod. Still got Parallel City. Never punished. We can't put our stadium in if we get Chaos Wheel. That's rough. Need to dig for puzzles or enhanced hammer here, or both. Ooh, they find a Fury Belt. That makes their attack much better this turn. They've played 3 VS and Lysandre. We really need to develop another Lapras soon. Switch is good. None of those things are fantastic. Hitting Elixir is pretty good though. Am I retreating? Just to get some damage in? Or am I going full fatigue this game? Could go full fatigue. They've got rid of 2 floats, 1 rope, only 1 VS Seeker left for Olympia. Maybe we bait. If they have their last VS Seeker in hand, they go for Lysandre prizes, right? We could bait that and then try and win the game just by flare grunting and stuff the following turns. Our alternative line is to retreat and collect. I think that's also fine. Let's do that. Let's collect. Try and find puzzles in an E-hammer. None of those. More VS Seekers are good though. Can confirm that VS Seeker is a good card. Haha! There's their 4th VS gone. So we're going to try and win just by getting all the energy off this and continually crushing its energy off. I think that last VS Seeker lost them the game, just to take the first 2 prizes. So you can see the tankiness of this deck. They've had to get rid of... Like, they have 8 cards left in deck just to take 2 prizes. That just shows how tanky this deck is. Pretty gross, right? So it's always Flare Grunt here. We'll grab another Lapras out. I don't see why not. Let's get an attachment in. And we'll just collect. There's the E-hammer. Nice. So, what do they do now? If they... Okay, they attach Dark there. Maybe they have 1 more rope in them. 3 float, rope, 2 rope and Olympia. That sounds like a lot. Ooh, juicy double puzzle. Just a pass. Oh, picking up VS Seeker's like broken here. So good for us. Be careful about how many cards we're playing if we are just going to go fatigue. We'll just collect. I think we have them. Spend their last double dragon, sure. So, how many darks do they have left? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Potentially 4 left in that hand. So we have to play the double puzzles here. I think I just get 2 VS Seekers. How do we lose from here? Don't think we ever can, really. I'm doing enough to carry this, right? Even with the stadium, yeah. Okay, let's double puzzle. Maybe just VS Seeker puzzle. That seems fine, right? That seems fine. They have 8 cards left. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12. We can collect. So next turn we Lysandre this and KO, I think. They have 2, 4, 6, 7. They're never going to have enough damage to win the game, right? Or do I just go for a complete stall? There's nothing we need to do, really. You can just pass. I think they run out of turns to win the game, even if they have the energy to move. I'm not going to attack, because if they do find the random switch card, I'd rather just deal with whatever they bring up. Second attachment is committed. Cool. There's a third attachment. I feel like wherever they retreat, they lose, to be honest. Like, retreat to here, give him 1 back, I still think we win the game, because he's out of turns to actually win. Yeah, they just pass. We'll just pass. Back to being well, Lord. See, by actually pretending to threaten attacks, like, we force them to act quicker, so we force them to play more cards. So it's really cool how this deck tries to play. Nice 2 prizes there, Darkrai. Well played. Well played. We were even ahead on prizes, boys. How about that? Okay, cool win. Cool win. Like I said, it's much easier for us to beat Dark Dragons than straight Dark. We don't have as many Lysandre targets, and the energy is harder to remove, so bear that in mind. But that was pretty convincing, especially because we flipped 3 Crushing Hammer's tails. Oh well. Yes, we get to go second again. Oh, against Decidueye. This will be a good test. Good to see how this goes. And see if we start Wob. I need to run the numbers on how frequently you start Wob. I've forgotten. Someone smart in the comments, let me know. Oh, we win. Well done us. Well done us. Cool. Well then. Yeah, pass seems about right. We'll pass. Not going to play Nest Ball because they could Lysandre and go nuts. This is a free energy that we can just take. Claim the life. An innocent energy card. Wow, they played Minchino over Beedrill. Interesting. Interesting choice. Cheeky little horn attack. This time we have to play the ball. Fail our good old Elixir. Even though Wobb's here, we still VS Seeker now. Because this is always the card we want anyway in the matchup. And he can just DC KO. So we'll just pass. No point in float, retreat, collect, because we're still doing a lot by ability locking here. They had Ultra Ball in hand, and it would have been Shaman for lots of things, but instead it was just a Dartrix. There's the Lysandre. Seems good. Seems good. They can weave in a Feather Arrow to the Wob and just pass. I think I'm floating Lapras here. Am I? Yeah, it's important to keep Wob around for later. And weirdly, keeping it around for later is like putting it active is safer than putting it to the bench. So because on the bench he can get Feather Arrowed and stuff. We'll bring the Decidueye active so he can't just DC to KO the Wob. In a way, it's actually quite bad that we started it so early, because it's got a lot of damage on really quickly. A lot of the time it's better that we find it like mid-game when we've collected a load of cards. But hey. Surely not an early Hollow Hunt. I think if he Hollow Hunts this turn, they just lose. They need to just pass. We have too much energy denial if he just Hollow Hunts this turn. Surely that's not the play. Getting rid of a second Tauros. That's really heavy for a Plume build. There's a Gloom. Tauros is so much better for us than Lugia as well, because we can just collect all day. And Rough Seas, etc. Whoa, they Hollow Hunted. Only getting back one energy is so bad for them. So bad. I think we did it. As mad as it sounds, I think we did it. They know this was going to happen. We'll play the puzzle anyway, just in case they have float and other things. Float DC KO's Wob, and that would be sad. Put energy to the top so we can Ice Beam. They've found themselves a forest. Gonna slap that into play. Gonna see Level Ball as well. Good old Rowlet. Gonna discard the Plume. Interesting. They had the forest. They could have just played it. It doesn't hurt their hand at all because of Wob. They have Revitalizer. That just like atones for their error. Interesting. Now they play it. So I think we just Ice Beam here. Plume's been developed. It's the only current Decidueye. That's their second one. They need all three for it to be really bad for us here. Because then they can KO Wob. And that would suck. This gives us more turns of Wob. Oh, they're going to go active. That is fantastic for us. That is really good for us. Just one bench. That doesn't make sense because I'm KOing this one next turn. Oh, okay, they have Shaman. They have such a good hand under item lock. That's absurd. Oh, and also Lysandre at any time wins us the game. Can we lose next turn? Yes, we could lose next turn. So we actually just need to retreat and pass here, right? One Lysandre's gone. So they need exactly Grass Energy Lysandre to win the game. If I attack and take the KO, they need just Grass Energy to KO Lapras, and they have the two Snipes for Wob. So we need to retreat here. We know our next top deck is Puzzle, which really sucks. But I don't think we can afford to collect here. So we'll do this. Hope they don't have a Grass Energy. Even a DC is bad for us here, because they can retreat and go into Tauros. Okay, Floatstone to Plume. We need to draw supporter pretty quickly. Oh, they had Lysandre. They win the game if they have a Grass Energy. Maybe it's off the prizes. There's been 2 played, and typically they only have 3 total. Or DC wins the game. Oh, they had neither. Thank goodness. I mean, if they have neither, it's better for me to collect here, I think. We get an extra card. We're on a knife edge. We are on a knife edge. We could be so safe so soon. Just no energy one time, no DC. 2 gone, right? 1 gone. Oh, Sycamore. I think we lose. They have such good chances here. Damn. Oh, we were so close to stabilizing. I think second Lapras Flagrant legitimately wins us the game. That's sad. Well, starting Wob wasn't enough to win the game. Interesting. We didn't draw too well though, to be fair. We didn't collect once either. Maybe that was an error. Who knows? We could have been braver. Last turn we could have been brave and said that we lose the game anyway with our top deck. Oh well. You can see that this deck has a lot of difficult decisions a lot of the time. Starting Wob again, interesting. And going second for the 3rd time. This is a fantastic Sycamore hand, by the way. This is what we want to see. We can play every card other than Ranger here. Most likely. Ginny Hooper, whatever they're playing, that's great for us. They're sad. They pass. Do we pass? Lysandre again could open the floodgates, but I think we just develop a Lapras because we have such a strong hand. We'll just do this. If their turn is Lysandre just for shame and draw, I don't think it's ever that strong. Fairy energy, huh? Against Guardy, most likely. We could legitimately win the game this turn. Switch card, Fury Belt. All the Fury Belts, no switch card. Let's pass. Letting him know. Could have attached the active, because then if they continue to dead draw, we can Sycamore into just one more water to win the game. But it's fine. As we all know, this deck can go long game, so... Alright, they have Ultra Ball off a Trainer's Mail. Let's see how dead their hand was. Teammates. Interesting. Not often seen in the fairy decks. Oh, it's Rainbow Force. That makes much more sense. Okay. I was sat here thinking Mega Guardy. I can one Nick KO that. We're fine. They rarely ever play Escape Rope in their list, right? They just play Floatstones typically. So we weren't in too much of a hurry to Sycamore that hand. Is Galvantula a problem? We need to manage our Stadium War this game. Even though it's crushing, we'll still go for the DC. It's still the best target. Let's refresh our hand. This is like MVP in this matchup, I feel. We don't need to collect when we have such a strong hand. We have like every answer we need. Shaman under Wob, seems good. It's for plus 30 damage. I think it wasn't an error, it was just for the damage. It's time. Playing this as a full art because it's just like such a cool full art. I like rarely ever play full arts on PTCGO, but when it's these guys, oh, the whiff. Oh, that's a gross Sycamore for them. Oh, they get 3 energy back though. They could teammate. They could use N. They have the switch card. They have everything they need but the energy. Damn. The whiffs are real. Let's pass. So Skyfield comes in. Super Rod. Switch Sycamore. Or switch N. Depending on what they want to do. Whiffing on the 7 card hand was sad. You can like win the game off just that card alone sometimes. So it's fine that it whiffs sometimes because when you get it, it's so game changing a lot of the time. They're not super rodding here? Wow. Interesting. They didn't put their stadium in either. Whoa, that's a weird hand from us. They didn't play the switch. They didn't play so many things. I'm confused. I'm just really, really confused at this point. Must be flipping some coins a little bit better this game. Do we trust in handy Skull Grunt? I think we do. I believe. And I'd also like to scout, because if our... Oh my god, second whiff. If our hand is safe... Oh, they've got such a good hand. I was going to say, if their hand was weak, we could weave in a collect. I think I still might, just because our hand isn't great, and we've lost a lot of crushings now. One thing they haven't got is Lysandre. I think they're just waiting for Lysandre on this. That's what they're waiting for. It was never worth them going for an attack on this guy. So, here comes the Floatstone most likely. I think they always play it. I don't see why they wouldn't play the Floatstone this turn. Yeah. Like, they didn't play the switch last time, but that was okay because they didn't actually want to attack. But the Floatstone is worth committing. Them Ultra Walling away. The Skyfield is great for us. Our opponent is being very resource cautious, which is good to see. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 to 10 to 40. Yeah. But if they only set up one, I feel like they're again not going to attack this turn. And then next turn we attach active, threaten both. Yeah, so he's trying to set up both, you see. Which is smart, smart, smart. We're going to keep firing off our good old friend Skull Grunt. One of these times they're going to work. 3 for 3. Hey, we got one. We did it, boys. We'll put this in to deny Shaman. Draw. Start collecting. We need to find some crushing hammers pretty quick. I mean puzzles for crushing hammers. Because they're all in here. Rainbow Force is pretty bad against energy denial. Do we have Lysandre in here? No, we don't. Got to hunt that pretty quickly as well. There's an Elixir. We might be getting attacked this turn. Ooh. That's a good end from them. Another Elixir. Ooh, scary times. We're definitely getting attacked this turn, I feel. Yeah. So, we have to KO this one. We can't not do that. So we need to end them out of this hand, I think. Hope we get lucky and draw double puzzle. No. This is good though. This is still a combo turn if they are able to KO us. I think we can still get there. So let's see if they have a response on us. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 currently on the board. or 200 they have on the board. They need one more Pokemon plus energy. There's Skyfield. There's a Pokemon. Oh, do they need 2 Pokemon? Let me count. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 2, 10, 2, 20, 2, 30. No, they got us. And they've got the N as well. Ending us again out of a really strong hand with all the answers. Into a hand of not many answers. Gross. Okay. Lapras number 2 has been defeated. This is good. Good start. 18. Actually, it doesn't change anything because we haven't got a Fury Belt on our Lapras. So I might be not playing down this Lapras that we have in our hand just because we kind of need to develop a Fury Belt. Probably an end turn. If we play again, we just do this. Again, just try and hit double puzzle. Prey time. That's a really weak hand. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think we just have to Flare Grunt and hope. Like, our alternative is Lysandre. Lysandre collect, hope that we can gain a few turns out of them. They have 1 switch left, right? I guess this is better than the amount of outs they have for energy. It's not. It doesn't feel good though. It doesn't feel good. Switch in hand. Gross. Gross, gross, gross. Couldn't get any puzzles working that entire game. It's pretty bad. Interesting. A few losses coming in hot. I feel like that was down to bad draw more than anything else. We flipped okay that game as well. They played it quite smart. Let's have one more with this deck because I just like playing it. And I'm actually testing it anyway. So if I'm going to carry on playing games, I may as well just have the recorder on. Especially because it's still a deck that I'm figuring out how to play perfectly. Because I feel like maybe I haven't been. Who knows? Okay. Dark Grey Garb or Yveltal Garb. I'd much prefer Yveltal Garb than Dark Garb. The Garb isn't important. It's just I prefer dealing with Yveltal than Garbodor. Their damage is just less on average, and they play DC. And typically only 1 baby Yveltal, sometimes not even any. Okay, let's have a look. And also, it's funny that Fright Night is like the deadest card in the world against this deck. Okay, Yveltal. Hooray. I feel like we have a good chance against this deck. Strong start from the opponent. Our Flare Grunts weren't on point against the Rainbow Force deck either. If they were more on point, we'd be golden. Speaking of, kapow! Oh, we can get him next turn. Oh no, we can't. But that's pretty good. That's pretty good, I would say. On a scale of 1 to good, I would say that was pretty good. Right. We are in a spot of bother. We do need to find a Pokemon. So I think we're just sycamoring this hand. Huzzah! Lapras number 2 has arrived. Healing Lapras is here. Wob will get benched. This will get belted. Need to draw cards, so that's what we'll do. Let's draw some cards. Double puzzle's nice, but no good activator really. This is really good. If we hit this off next turn, we could be in great shape. Our opponent's going in. Dark Energy's better, right? Yeah, Dark Energy's smarter. Uh, 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 11. So it doesn't make sense to puzzle the single hammer. Doesn't make sense to attach yet either. Because otherwise I could be forced to puzzle back a water energy, and that would suck. Just collect. One turn here changes a lot. If we can stay alive for one turn, pushes us back out of range. If we spend a hammer next turn and get heads. Ooh, Nest Ball could be juicy for us. Oh, it's good. Okay, less good now. I think we're in good shape. We're in very good shape. Don't know why they would bench that rubbish ever. Doesn't make any sense. Lapras number 3 on the board. See, this is the thing. They're concerned about Lapras actually attacking, so they have to play around so many random things. When really all I want to sit here and do is collect. That's all I want to do. I will only attach to the active again when I find another water energy. I know the puzzles like technically are, but I don't want to spend puzzles just on water energy when we play 10. Okay, they're going to Lysandre Wob, that's fine. We can keep collecting, I think. What I like is that we play the role of the fatigue deck, and then we just take 6 prizes if they try to just play no cards. We have a second energy now, so we can commit this happily. Not going to fire off a hammer because I feel like I'm ice beaming this next turn. So just collect. Is Olympia in the discard? No, nothing is. Just some energies. That's a fully healed Lapras. Seems good. We'll spend our GX attack. They have a low hand size. They rely on Floatstone as their switch card. Feels good. We really don't need to collect anymore. So let's fire off a Crushing Hammer. Do I really need to Crushing this right now? I don't think I do particularly because it hasn't got a Fairy Belt. He has no more DCE, so it does 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. We can Olympia and just bop it next turn if he doesn't have a Fury Belt. So I think we're in great shape. More puzzles? Sure. I'll take them. I think we're pretty good here. I like when Lapras wins because it takes 6-0s a lot of the time. It feels good. But at the same time, you can lose quite quickly as well. It's a fun deck to play. Delinquent? Are you sure? Are you sure you want a Delinquent? A hand as big as this? This card is never impactful. We never lose the Stadium War. We have enough ends. It's not worth Olympiaing to collect, right? No, we'll just pass. Yveltal dead draw hype. Do they concede as soon as we do this? Possibly. Quite possibly. I'm going to get my puzzles in now because I want to get an attachment in. Yeah, cool, 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 cool. So, 2 wins, 2 losses for Lapras. I want to go back over that Rainbow Force deck. I think Rainbow Force is a hard matchup for this. Rayquaza can be as well. It depends on your flips and how well these hammers go. But they did exactly the right thing by staying on the bench because we just play so many Flare Grunts. And the fact that we couldn't find Lysandre and be the proactive one was really bad for us. Maybe in hindsight we had to go more aggro Lapras in the first place instead of having the Wob. So that we could collect into those cards. So maybe that's something on reflection we can look to change when you start playing the deck yourselves. But I think overall there's not much this deck can't beat. Lurantis is auto loss for sure, but I think a lot of other things are good for you. I think Vespiquen is obviously a really hard matchup. I think you lose that as well, but Vespi has sort of been dying out just because Decidueye is taking over the format. And Vespi, even with techs like Heavy Wob, is just not good because it needs to draw cards anyway. So I feel like there's not too much that can test this deck right now in the top of the meta game. So it feels like it's in a good place and it's a really interesting deck. So I'm glad I profiled it and I hope you guys all enjoyed seeing the gameplay as well. I think this is a deck that you have to see in action really to understand how it tries to function and how it tries to win, because there are lots of decisions that you have to make. And yeah, Interesting deck. I'd like to hear your thoughts about it. Karl Peters is a genius for coming up with the deck. A very innovative concept of being Werelord with a draw engine. I think that's really cool. So, yeah, let us know what you think down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and leave a like to the video if you did. For now, though, it's been Joe from Omnipoke, and I'll see you guys next time.